While that was going on in Washington, Congressman John Rutherford spent some time tonight answering questions from his constituents, part of a Q&A session in Nocatee held while the U.S. House is on break this week. On your side's Robert Bradfield was there and spoke with the congressman about issues affecting the First Coast.
We asked Congressman Rutherford a host of questions, from the much talked about impeachment to local issues. Nothing was off limits.
Serving the constituents of Florida's 4th Congressional District.
Republican Representative John Rutherford meeting with his constituents in Nocatee. He and his colleagues on break from Washington, while the Senate stayed in session with impeachment front and center. Rutherford voted against impeachment in the House.
Because the facts haven't changed, and the facts haven't changed for some time now.
Locally, Rutherford, who served as Jacksonville sheriff, says he'd give current sheriff Mike Williams an A- or B+ in fighting crime. Last year, Duval County had the highest number of homicides in more than a decade, and Rutherford hinted more money and manpower could help.
It's the resources that you have and how you deploy those resources. And if you don't have the resources, you can't deploy them.
A rising sea level also on his radar. Rutherford serves 3 coastal counties, Nassau, Duval, and St. John's.
We're talking right now with the Army Corps. They're trying to put together a study to look at how do we build some resiliency in the Northeast Florida.
The growth of St. Johns County catching the attention of new Nocatee resident Daniel Okavich. The father of 2 says development may be happening too quick.
Growth is the problem, though. I mean, they can't keep up. You know, they're not paying the teachers enough. The average school salary in St. John's is $40,000, and you can't get a mortgage. I'm a mortgage broker. You can't get a mortgage making $40,000 a year.
Rutherford, who was greeted by some protesters, plans to return to Washington, D.C. next week. In St. Johns County, Robert Bradfield, First Coast News, on your side.
And Donna Deegan is running against John Rutherford for Congress. And as most of you know, she's a former anchor here at First Coast News. Her husband, Tim Deegan, is our evening meteorologist. And in his role as meteorologist, he has no editorial input into First Coast News' coverage of this race or any other in the 2020 election.